As we begin part writing, learning about voice leading, we will typically write in 4 voices: soprano and alto in the treble clef, tenor and bass in the bass clef. Soprano is always stems up, alto stems down. Tenor stems up, bass stems down. I'm going to look at a simple progression written in the key of C over 4 measures. The Roman numeral analysis is beneath the bass clef. That is typical. In the key of C, this is a 1 chord, C, E, G. If you need, write in the letter names for a Roman numeral. 5 chord in the key of C, G, B, D. Back to a 1 chord, C, E, G. 7 diminished is B, D, F. 1 with the 3rd in the bass. It's still C, E, G, but E is going to be in the bass. The Roman numeral here is a 5, 6, 4. You already know that when it's 6, 4, it's standing on its head. The chord is standing on its head. And back to a 1 chord, C, E, G. This C, E, G chord, C, G, E, C. Generally, when I sing a complete chord, I start with the bass, move up to the tenor, alto, and then soprano. Notice that I didn't sing that specific C. I sang whatever C is low in my voice. C up to G, and then I went to the nearest E, which was actually down a 3rd instead of up a 6th. E, and then up to C, whatever fits in your voice. C is the root, so I put an R next to it. G is the 5th, E is the 3rd, C is the root again. So in that particular voicing, we have 2 roots, a 3rd, and 1/5. This is the 5 chord. G, G, D, B. G is the root of G, B, D. D is the 5th. B is the 3rd. So that is also root, root, 3rd, 5th. Then it returns to the 1 chord that we started with. Root, 5th, 3rd, root. So that again is root, root, 3rd, 5th. This is a 7 diminished, spelled B, D, F. D is the 3rd, F is the 5th, D is the 3rd again, B is the root. So there was 1 root, 2 thirds, and 1/5. This is the 1 chord in first inversion such that the 3rd is in the bass. E, G, C, C, 3rd, 5th, root, root. There were 2 roots, 1/3 and 1/5. In the 5 chord that is standing on its head, the 5th is in the bass, G is a root, there's another 5th in the alto, B is the 3rd. So this had 1 root, 1/3, and 2/5. And then when the 1 returns in the last measure, it's voiced the same way as in the first measure. Root, 5th, 3rd, root. So it was 2 roots, a 3rd, and a 5th. At the bottom of the page, it's the same progression of Roman numerals, but now in C minor. So the 1 chord is C, E flat, G. The 5 chord is G, B natural, D. In minor keys, the leading tone always needs an accidental. The leading tone to C minor, the leading tone to C is B natural, but it's B flat in the key signature. The leading tone needs an accidental. C, C minor. The B diminished is spelled the same way as in major, but now that leading tone that is the root of the diminished triad needs an accidental. 1/6, the E flat is in the bass. This is a 5, 6, 4, meaning the 5th is in the bass. It is standing on its head. It's the weakest way to put it, to voice a chord, and then back to 1 chord. So root, 5th, 3rd, root. There were 2 roots, 1/3 and 1/5. In the 5 chord, root, root, 5th, 3rd, 2 roots, a third, and a fifth. The root was in the bass. The return of the 1 chord is voiced exactly as in measure 1 with 2 roots, a third, and a fifth. The 7 diminished. D is the third, F is the fifth, D is the third, B natural is the leading tone, and that is the root. Diminished chord, root, root, third, fifth. 1, 6, third in the bass, that's what the 6 tells us. G is the fifth, then 2 roots, root, root. Then a first inversion minor chord, 2 roots, a third, and a fifth. The 5 chord standing on its head means that the fifth is in the bass. Tenor has the root, there's another fifth in the alto. Soprano had the third, root, third, fifth, fifth. And in the last chord, we return to the voicing that was at the very beginning. There are 3 notes in a chord, root, third, fifth. And yet we have 4 voices, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, which means that of the 3 notes in the chord, 1 is going to be doubled. How do you know which pitch of the chord, root, third, or fifth, to double? 1 is by chord quality, and the other is by bass note. In other words, what is in the bass? The root, the third, or the fifth? What's in the bass? Between chord quality and what's in the bass, that helps me to determine what note do I double. So, if we have a major or minor triad that is in root position, what was the doubling? Here is a major chord in root position, and it was root, root, third, fifth. Here's the 5 chord in root position. It was the same doubling. The beginning of measure 2 was a repetition of measure 1. The last chord was a repetition of the first chord. So all major chords that we dealt with that were in root position used root, root, third, fifth. Look at the bottom of the page. Root position minor chord, root, root, third, fifth. This 5 chord is exactly the same, voiced the same way. Measure 2, it's a return of the downbeat of measure 1. Root position, root, root, third, fifth. And the last chord, didn't even label it at the time, it's the same as the first chord. So if the chord is major or minor and it is in root position, the standard doubling is 2 roots, a third, and a fifth. I'm not saying that this is bass, tenor, alto, soprano. I'm just saying that amongst the 4 notes in the soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, you need 2 roots, a third, and a fifth. If it's in first inversion, so the third is in the bass, most often expect to encounter that it's that same doubling of root, root, third, fifth, whether it's a major or a minor chord. When that major or minor chord is in second inversion, such as the penultimate chord in this progression, the 5 chord that was in second inversion, root, third, fifth, fifth. If a chord is in second inversion, that's 6/4 inversion, expect to get root, third, fifth, fifth. Something else to remember there is in a 6/4 inversion, it's standing on its head, which means the fifth is in the bass, and you double the fifth. And so another way of thinking of that is double, DBL is the abbreviation for double, the root on a 6/4 chord. Diminished triads, when we said we have to look at chord quality and what's in the bass, the root, third, or fifth, to know what to double. Diminished triad. There are 2 diminished triads spelled the same because they're on the leading tone. B natural, D natural, F natural. The third is in the bass, and the third is also doubled. Root, third, third, fifth. Root, third, third, fifth. The root will not be in the bass. That's the 6. The 3rd is in the bass, and the 3rd, oh, I messed that one up there, double the bass. Double the bass. Make sure you correct that. Now, chord quality and what's in the bass tells you how to double the chord. Generally, you're going to double the root. 6/4 chords, double the 5th, what's in the bass. Diminished triad, double the 3rd, which is going to be in the bass. Notice that I say always, and then I put an exclamation point in parentheses. This means that most of the time. And for our purposes this semester, I mean all the time. If you have a diminished triad, it will be in first inversion. In oral skills, if you think you hear a diminished triad, make certain you put its 3rd as the note in the bass. Now, when it comes to voice leading means, for example, I'm the 3rd of this chord. I hear that there's a chord change coming. Where am I going to go? Where am I moving to? Voice leading first choice is what the tenor has done here. The tenor is on a G, which is the 5th of C, E, G, and it's the root of G, B, D. The tenor is on the G. It is a common tone. It is in both the 1 chord and the 5 chord, so that's called a common tone. It is a tone, a pitch, a letter name, common to 2 chords that are adjacent. So G, the tenor note, stays on the G. So your first choice always in voice leading is be a common tone. Stay put, be lazy, don't go anywhere. The second choice is what the soprano has done here. Soprano is on a C. It moves by step to a B. So it only moves by step. C is not a common tone between the 1 chord and the 5 chord. C is in the 1 chord. It is not in the 5 chord. So it could not be a common tone. It used the second choice, which was move by step. That's your second choice. First choice is be a common tone. Second choice can't be a common tone. Second choice is move by step. The alto does the same thing. E in the C, E, G chord is not a common tone into G, B, D. E had to move. It moves by step, E to D. Couldn't be a common tone, so it moved by step. This progression, every voice either remains as a common tone, or it moves by step. This voice leading is specifically referring to soprano, alto, and tenor. We have already studied soprano melody lines. We've studied bass lines. So we know they're not the same. And when it comes to talking about voice leading, we're really only talking about how to move soprano and alto tenor. Bass lines live by their own set of rules, own set of guidelines, own principles. So in this case, moving 1 to 5, G to G, common tone. Back to 1, G is the common tone. G, there are no common tones between C, E, G, and B, D, F. G moves down by step to F. No common tones between B, D, F, and C, E, G. F has to move back up to the G. G is a common tone between C, E, G, and G, B, D, and back to C, E, G. So the tenor gets back to the G and stays there. In the alto, E is not a common tone when C, E, G moves to G, B, D. E moves down by step to D, and back to E when the chord moves back to C, E, G. C, E, G is not in B, D, F. The E moves down to D. And as BDF returns to CEG, D moves down to C to double the root of the chord. And as CEG moves to GBD, C moves to D because C is not in a GBD chord, it had to move. And as GBD returns to CEG, D returns to E, where it could be a common tone, first choice, it remained a common tone. When it can't be a common tone, it moves by step. And we can follow the soprano through the same way. The third choice is not even invoked because the soprano, alto, and tenor, if they couldn't be a common tone, then they move by step. The third choice is to skip by third. The last choice is to leap a fourth or more and change direction, arpeggiate, complete an octave transfer, move by step is there too, but it's not a great option. We already know about what to do after you leap a fourth or more, but most often it's leap and change direction. Voice leading, be a common tone, move by step. Can't be a common tone, can't move by step, then skip by third. Can't be a common tone, can't move by step, can't skip by third. Your last choice is leap, and then you look to change directions. If both soprano, alto, and tenor have to leap a fourth or more, something is wrong. If two voices amongst soprano, alto, and tenor are both leaping by fourth or more, you probably have a voice leading error. You're not going to need to leap a fourth or more in one voice even very often, because first of all you try to be a common tone, second of all move by step, third skip by third. That's an overview of voice leading and doubling.